Samantha Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajas Sunantu Saggamukhdang Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Evang me sutang ekang samayang bhagava savathyang viharati anatha pindikassa arame tatrako bhagava bhikkhu amantesi bhikkhavoti badante ti te bhikkhu bhagavato pachasso sum Bhagava etadavocha Sabbasava samvara pariyayang vo bhikkhave desisami Tang sunatha sadhukam manasi karotha bhasisami Evang bhante titheko bhikko te bhikkhu Bhagavato pachasso sum Bhagava etadavocha Jhanato aham bhikkhave passato asavanang kayang vadami no ajanato no apassato kincha bhikkhave jhanato kincha passato asavanang kayang vadami yonisocha manasikarang ayonisocha manasikarang ayoniso bhikkhave Manasikaro Anupanna cheva asava uppajjati Uppanna cha asava pavaddhati Yoniso chakho bhikkhave Manasikartho Anupanna cheva asava na uppajjanti Uppanna cha asava pahiyanti Athe bhikkhave asava Dasana pahatabba Adhibhikave asava Sangvara pahatabba Adhibhikave asava Patisevana pahatabba Adhyasava Adhivasana pahatabba Adhyasava Parivajjana pahatabba Adhyasava Vinodhana pahatabba Ati asava bhavana pahatabhati Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear listeners, subject to the discourse today, the Sabbasava Sutta, all the fermentations. It says, I have heard that on one occasion, the fortunate one was staying at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, another Pindika's monastery. There he addressed the monks as dear monks. Yes, Lord, the monks replied. So the blessed one said, dear monks, the ending of the all fermentation is for one who knows and sees. I tell you, not for the one who does not know and sees. Does not know and does not see. For the one who knows what and see what. appropriate intention and inappropriate attention, appropriate attention and inappropriate attention. When the monk attends inappropriately, unarisen fermentations arise and arisen fermentations increase. When a monk attends appropriately, unarisen fermentations do not arise and arisen fermentations are abandoned. There are fermentations to be abandoned by seeing, those to be abandoned by restraining, those to be abandoned by using, those to be abandoned by tolerating, those to be abandoned by avoiding, those to be abandoned by dispelling, and those to be abandoned by developing. Those are the ways to abandon the fermentations. Dear ones, first of all, we must know what we call fermentations. There is 3 types of main fermentations explained in Sutta Pitaka, and another one we can find from the Abhidhamma Pitaka. What are the main 3 fermentations in Sutta Pitaka? That is Kamasava, Bhavasava, and Avijjasava. That means the fermentations of sensual pleasures and the fermentations of existence, concept of existence, and the fermentations of ignorance. And Abhidhamma Pitaka explains another fermentation called Ditthasava. Ditthasava, it actually it included in the Avijjasava. So mainly we can focus on 3 asavas called avijja, the ignorance, existence, and sensual pleasures. Those are fermentations, what fermentate in our mind. And those whole things in our mind, and those are like streams, some water streams flow to the sea, like that way. There is a force to flowing, force to involve us for those things, because in this endless samsara we have practiced so much the desires to sensual pleasures and the concept of the conceiving of existence and the ignorance. So those things we call fermentations, what is in our mind. So these fermentations, Lord Buddha has explained, there is ways to abandon those fermentations. First one is by knowing and seeing. The other one, next one is, first one is by seeing, and the second one is restraining. The third one is by using. Fourth one is by tolerating. Fifth one is by avoiding. Sixth one is by dispelling. And the seventh one is by developing. Now we can talk about one by one what we need to, how we have to abandon these fermentations. The Nibbana means the remainless cessation of those fermentations, remainless abandon of fermentations, all fermentations. So Lord Buddha explained these fermentations, the monks, the ending of the fermentations is for one who knows and sees. I tell you, not for the one who does not know and does not see. Then for one who knows what and sees what, that is yoniso manasikarocha, ayoniso manasikarocha. What is yoniso manasikara? Yoniso manasikara mean, yoni mean the originating place, The manasikara means the attention. The attention to the originating place, that's we call yoniso manasikara. Appropriate attention, or the attention to the originating place. And ayoniso manasikara, the inappropriate attention. I'll tell you an example. Normally, ordinary world people always in this inappropriate attention. Always they conceive the world as a thing, the visuals as sounds and smells, thoughts like that. Always, in the person who is in wrong, inappropriate attention, they think they are existing. They always their ideas with the external world. But the person who practice the appropriate attention, he will understand this is he always his attention into the originating place. Now you think you conceive, oh, here is the Bhante sound. The Bhante, once you conceive Bhante sound, the noble person, he turn back and see the originating place. Originating place is just a cognition. As a work of this cognition, diluted mind creates and conceives the duality called sound, Bhante sound, and person who's listening. But in the originating place, he can find just a cognition. That is, we called Yoniso Manasikara and Ayoniso Manasikara. The person who practice this inappropriate attention, unarisen fermentations arise in his mind. If your attention as the world, as a true, as a thing, the visual sensations, those things you think as things, conceive as things, the desires to sensual pleasures are arising in your mind. And the concept of existing, that means oh real, there's a world really exists, and I am existing, I'm living in this real world. That's we call the existence. The existence also arising. And the avijja means the ignorance, as you know, you don't know this just cognition. You're always attached and enslaved with the world. This ignorance also rising, and the horizon fermentations are increasing. Because why? Because of the inappropriate attention. But the person who practices his attention into the originating place in appropriate attention, he will not think the horizon fermentations going to be ceased, and the horizon the other fermentations also will not arise in his mind. As an example, once your attention always, when you see something, it's just a cognition. When you hear something as just a cognition, there is nothing will arise in your mind, no any fermentations in your mind. The mind will be free from those. So that's what we call the appropriate and inappropriate attention. So after that, Lord Buddha explaining, and what are the fermentations to be abandoned by seeing? First of all, I must told you all to listen the Mulapariyaya Sutta, what we have done earlier. The Mulapariyaya Sutta really helps us to understand this very nicely. So, how to abandon the fermentations by seeing. There is the case where an uninstructed, ordinary person who has no regard for noble ones and is not well versed or disciplined in their Dhamma, who has no regard for men of integrity, is not well versed or disciplined in their Dhamma, he does not discern what ideas are fit for attention or what ideas are unfit for attention. This being so, he does not attend to ideas fit for attention and attends to ideas unfit for attention. And what are the ideas unfit for the attention? And he attends to whatever ideas such that when he attends to them, there are unrisen fermentations of sensuality risen in him, and the risen fermentation of sensuality increases. The unrisen fermentation of become the existence arises in him, and the risen fermentation of existence arises. The unrisen fermentation of ignorance arises in him, and the arisen fermentation of ignorance increases. These, these are the ideas unfit for attention that he attends to. Those are the normal way of the ordinary uninstructed people. But as the people who listen to noble Dhamma in the Lord Buddha's dispensation, we all must understand how we need to practice our attention. However, this is how he attends inappropriately. There is some ways the ordinary people style. Now I'll tell some examples. You may feel these type of ideas. I haven't these type of ideas, but if you insight your mind very closely, you can understand. Oh, really? These type of ideas are in our mind. In very deep manner, I accept these ideas. Now I'll tell those ideas. There's some ideas about the past, some ideas about the future, and some ideas about the present moment. You have this type of ideas for the uninstructed ordinary person. Was I in the past? And was I not in the past? What was I in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what? What was I in the past? Those are the 5 things, and what he thinks, what becomes in his mind once he practice his attention inappropriately. What are those? Was I in the past? Was I not in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what? What was I in the past? Those are the 5 ways. Another 5 ways also there. Shall I be in the future? Shall I not be in the future? What shall I be in the future? How shall I be in the future? Having been what? What shall I be in the future? Those are the 5 another inappropriate thinkings about the future. And the other things about the present moment. Those are, or else he's inwardly perplexed about the immediate present. How am I? Am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has this being come from? It bound? How am I? Am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has the being come from? And where is it bound? Those are the thinking of this moment. I need to emphasize something, that is, normally so many people interpret this segments, these statements, as they talk about the real past lives. But I must say to you, for a Sotapanna person, for a stream enterer, he abandoned the fermentations by seeing. So if you will listen to the past stories, the people attain the Sota partnership, the stream entry, in their while they listening the Dhamma, while listening a small stanza, and there is some suttas about the Panya Vimukta Arahanta. Panya Vimukta Arahanta mean the person who attend the Arahantship without the supernatural powers, without the Arupajanas. Arupajanas mean Akasanyayatana, Vijnanachayatana, Akincha Sanyayatana, Neo Sanyana Sanyayatana, and the five abhinyas called Ubenivasanasati, Dibbachaku, Dibbasota, Parajita Vijanana, and Irdivita. Irdivita. There is some Arahants who has not, most of Arahants have not those supernatural powers and the Arupa Jahanas. So, but somebody is explaining once he is abandoned from by seeing, he see the past life and he see the future life and he see the present moment, and he abandoned these ideas. But in my view, it is a wrong idea because there's some arahants also is there who has not those ability to see their past life, and no one can tell exactly what will be our next life. Future life telling is uh, it's not accurate because we don't know the last moment what will arise in our mind. So this what is this what is this sense these statements? What are those statements? Once we think about the past, uh, if you are in the wrong, inappropriate attention, you always accept, you always conceiving the duality, you always accept the world and the things. So once you accept those things, you can be arise when you think the past. You can be conceive. Oh, was I in the past? Always you have the idea of I in the past, and what was I in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what was in the what was I in the past? Like that way. But if you have right, the appropriate attention what return to the originating place, those all he has not the idea of I, because he knows if something arises in mind, it is just a cognition. It's just infertile thought. It is just infertile concept. There is nothing to take as fertile. So that the part of I, it is not exist in his mind. Once he feel, oh, how was I in the past? It was just a cognition what arises in his mind to him. Because ordinary people are thinking there is an actual self or soul arising and passing away in going in the navigating and associating in birth to birth. But it's a wrong ideology. The preparations are arising, preparations are ceasing. There is nothing to take as our soul, nothing to take as ourself. Because if we going to take something as ourself, there is just only five things to take as ourself. Those are our body, our sensations, the perceptions, the volitional activities, and cognitions, and nothing else. But those all five things are not under our control. We can't control them. We can't expect, oh, these things be like that, be like this, don't be like this. We can't expect like that. So those are infertile. those are not self. So there's nothing to take as our soul, nothing to take as our self. So those ideas will not arise in his mind. In the future, about the future also, the person who has the inappropriate attention, he think, um, shall I in the past? Shall I not in the past? And so on. But the person who understands those are arising and arising, the preparations are arising, preparations are passing away. He has no any idea about about those things. About I go to next life. Has no any idea. Just preparations arising and passing away according to causes, cause and effect, and nothing else. And the present moment also, he has no any idea. Oh, am I? Am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has this being come from? Where is it bound? He has no any idea about I. There's a preparations, like it's like an enlightened robot who has an artificial intelligence. Since he understands I'm working according to a programming, since he understands, he always deluded and enslaved according to his programmers. He do what they program to him. But once he understands, oh, uh, I do those old works because of programming, but I have the self thinking. Now I'll look into I insight my preparation by overcome from this programming. Now he's seeing to um, his mechanism. Then he will understand. Oh, there is just cognitions arising and passing away because of the causes, and because of these cognitions, uh, with the with adding with ignorance, I thinking I'm enslaved and work in this world, but I can stop these fermentations by by enlightening. That is what he understands and feel to. Uh, he will not gain any idea about I. And another things also, as he attends inappropriately in this way, one of six kind of view arises in him. The view I have a self arises in him as through and established. That's we call Shastrata Drishti. It's he think, oh, I have a self, what is through and established, what is independent soul, independent self, something going birth to birth. Or the view, I have no self, or the view, it is precisely by means of self that I perceive self. Another one is the main two are there. First one is I have a soul, I have a self. And another concept in a, while he attention practicing his attention inappropriately, the main thing he will think, he will conceive, I have a self, or I have not a self, or um, the view, it is precisely by means of self that I perceive self. That means uh, the main thing is the perception, the main soul is perceptions, and my soul with the sensation, body sensations, volitional activities, and cognitions, and the main thing is perceiving. My soul, myself, a main thing is perceiving. By this main self or the soul, uh, those are the ideologies of uh, the inappropriate thinking. He may think my soul is this naming. Naming mean the sensations, body, all things are my soul, but the main thing is the perception, the perceiving. It's the work of my this all are my soul. This is one side of thinking. And or the view, it is precisely by means of self that I perceive not self. The view that is precisely by means of self, I perceive not self. That means there is a self or soul. Um, then uh, there is a self. There is a soul. Yeah, is existing. Uh, what is not? Uh, what is not thinking? No self. I am thinking no self, but I think that by my self. It is uh, another pattern. Another way also are there. Other view, it is precisely by means of not self that I perceive self arises in him as true and established. That means there is other things are not my soul. That means the body sensations, volitional activities, and cognition are not my soul, but perception is my soul. Or else he has a view like this: this very soul or self of mine, the knower that is sensitive here and there to the ripening of good and bad actions, is the self of mine that is constant, everlasting, eternal, not subject to change, and will stay just as it is for eternity. This is called the ticket views, a wilderness of views, a contortion of views, a writing of views, a fetter of views. Bound by a fetter of views, the uninstructed ordinary person is not freed from birth, aging, and death, from sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, despair. He is not freed, I tell you, from suffering and stress. Those time you must you don't need to understand this type of thinking, because that is the thinking what has to uninstructed ordinary person. So many the easiest thing is he's thinking there's a soul what arising and passing away according to the karma, because my good and bad actions, some karmas arising, passing, and I'm working because of this commerce. Uh, I'm in this world, birth to birth. There's a soul go there. And another thing is the main thing as the perception. Others all are my soul. Another way is the perception is the only soul. I recognize all other things by my perception. That's why the perceiving. That's why the Indian past sages sense fear to abandon the perception, because why their highest position was neither perception nor non-perception. That is their boundless thinking, boundless. The fourth arupa jhana, fourth non-form formation of non-form jhana. So they fear to they fear to think as fear to abandon the perception, but because they thought, if we abandon the perception, my soul will vanish. They fear to that. But Lord Buddha has explained these all things will vanish once you understand the concept of self, concept of soul is just a cognition, it's just an illusion, it's just a ignorance what is in your mind. So that is the way. Once who practice the inappropriate attention like this way, he can arise this type of so many wrong ideologies. But the well instructed disciple of the noble ones, who has regard for the noble ones, is well versed and disciplined in their Dhamma, who has regard for men of integrity, is well versed and disciplined in their Dhamma, discerns what ideas are fit for attention and what ideas are unfit for attention. This being so, he does not attend to ideas unfit for attention and attends to ideas fit for attention. That means, and what are the ideas unfit for attention that he does not attend to? Whatever ideas such that when he attends to them, the arising fermentation of sensuality arises in him, and the rise and fermentation of sensuality increases. The unarising fermentation of um, existence arises in him, and a rise and fermentation of existence increases, and the unarising fermentation of ignorance arises in him, and the arising fermentation of ignorance increases. These are the ideal ideas unfit for attention that he does not attend to, that he does not attend to. That means once you thinking the actual world and you, the duality, your unarising fermentations will arise. The rise and fermentation will increase in sensuality or in about the concept of existing or the ignorance or anything. Those are the inappropriate thinking. And what are the ideas fit for attention that he does attend to? What are ideas such that when he attains to them, the unarising fermentation of sensuality or desire to sensual pleasures does not arise in him, and the arising fermentation of sensuality is abandoned. The unarising fermentation of existing does not arise in him, and the arising fermentation of existing is abandoned. The unarising fermentation of ignorance does not arise in him, and arising fermentation of ignorance is abandoned. These are the ideas fit for the attention that he does attend to. Through his not attending to ideas unfit for attention, and through his attending to ideas fit for attention, unarising fermentations do not arise in him, and arising fermentations are abandoned. How he attained appropriately, how he practices attention, return to the origin place, how he attains appropriately. This is the suffering, this is the stress, and this is the origination of, this is the arising of suffering, this is the arising of stress, or this is the cessation of stress or suffering, and this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering or the stress. As he attains appropriately in this way, three fetters are abandoned in him: identity view, doubt, and clinging at clinging at precepts and practices. These are called the fermentations to be abandoned by seeing. What are those? Identity view. Oh, there is a self. Uh, my body is self, or the sensations are self, and my perceptions are self, or the volitional activities are self, cognition are self, is self. This self, the idea of self, will abandon, and the doubts in the Dhamma will abandon, and his wrong, the clinging to wrong practices and precepts, those will abandon. Those are the fermentations to be abandoned by seeing. Dear ones, what is the understanding of what is the understanding um, what is the understanding of the Sotapanna person, the person who uh, the person who thought how what is the understanding of a Sotapanna or stream enterer? That is, yang kinchi samudaya dhamma sabbantang nirodha dhamma. The things what arise with the causes. When the cause there is this, if the cause cease, uh, nothing will arise. All other sources, all things will cease. That is, if something arises with the causes, uh, sabbanta nirodha dhamma. Those all things are under the ceasing. What are the things? Things are the sounds, visual, the eye and visual, ear and sound, mind and thought, body and tangibles. Those are the things what we conceive as things. But those all things are preparated and preparated by thoughts, because those all things we experience by as just a cognition. Because of this making conceiving duality, we feel there is a real world and a person who's living, who experiencing. But the cognitions without an observer and without an observing thing, just a cognition. So his understanding is this conceiving of things arise with the causes. Then the voice one will understand, um, if there's not the cause, there's not the ignorance as conceive those things as things, these things will not arise, at least not arise. If there is no ignorance, there is no any visual what arised in past, there is no visual is arising in this moment, and there is no visual what will arise in the future. Just cognitions. And once we think about the past or the future, it's also just a cognition in this very moment. And if we think about all my cognitions arising and passing away, it also just a cognition what arises in this movement, the cognition in the mind. You need to close your eyes and understand while listening, unless you will not comprehend it. And once, if we talk about um, our main disciple of Lord Buddha, the Maharahanta, Venerable Sariputta, he became a stream enterer by listening to lines of one stanza, that is, Ye dhamma hetu pabhava, te sang hetu tathagato aha, te sanchayo nirodho, evang vadi mahasamano. If something arises with the causes, ye dhamma hetu pabhava, Tesang hetu tathagata. The cause of that, the Tathagata is explaining. Tathagata is explaining the cause of that. Once, while he listening these two lines, he understands the cessation part also by himself. If something arises, those things arisen with the causes. If they are not the cause, nothing will arise. Because those things become as things because of the conceiving. But once we understand, there is just a cognition, or there is, we feel those things as things because of the ignorance. Once we cease the ignorance remainlessly, nothing will arise. Nothing will arise in the past to him. Nothing will arise in the future to him. Nothing will arise in nothing is arising in this very moment to him. Tesang hetu tathagatva. Tesanchayo nirodho, and its cessation also evang vadi mahasamanam. That is the interpretation. That is the explanation of the greatest monk. That means Lord Buddha. So that is the understanding of a stream enterer. How can we become a stream enterer? By appropriate attention, by right vision, by abandon the ab- fermentations abandoned by seeing. So once he understands, once he abandons those things, he will seize the concept of self, and that means he has the idea about I, but he totally understands there is nothing to take as myself. There is nothing to take as my soul in body or sensations or perceptions or volitional activities or in the cognitions. There is nothing to take as my soul or self. So that is how we have to abandon by seeing. Once he abandoned by seeing, he'll become a stream enterer, a Sotapanna person. So after that, we have to abandon by another ways also. Now we are going to talk about them. The second one is, and what are the fermentations to be abandoned by restraining? There is the case where a monk, reflecting appropriately, dwells restrained with the restraint of, of the eye faculty, the fermentations, vexation, or fever that would arise if he were to dwell unrestrained with the restraint of the eye faculty, do not arise for him when he dwells restrained with the restraint of the eye faculty. That means if someone practice his uh, if someone restrain if someone use the mindfulness in his eye, now you have the uh, now you have the understand have the right vision, the how to how to how you need to practice your vision. So now you know the Dhamma. Now you are entered to the stream entry. Now he knows how can I protect the eye faculty. How can I protect the hearing or hearing faculty or the ear faculty? And how can I protect the nose faculty or the smelling faculty and the tongue faculty and the body faculty are the mind faculty, the thinking faculty. Because those things, uh, if we look at to something, normally uninstructed ordinary people take those things as things. Once he uh, conceives things as things, he may understand, oh, there is actual things are arising, and after that the sensual pleasures will arise, and the concept of existence will arise, and the ignorance will increase. All things will happen by the inappropriate thinking, by unprotection of the eye. So that's why you need to restrain the eye faculty. How? You will not take any object. uh, you will not conceive any anything, any visual, or you will not conceive any any sub visual from the eye. That means, as you look at to a woman or a man, when you look at a girl or a boy, the you don't conceive as a person, just a just a cognition, just a cognition of an eye, or just a cognition in the ear, or just a cognition in the body, or just a cognition in the mind, nothing else. He will not conceive as a thing, as a person. We talked in the Mulapariyaya Sutta, the sutta in about the all the root sequence of all phenomena. We talked the bhutang bhutato sanjanati, bhutang bhutato sanyatva bhutang manyati. He conceives being as being, conceiving being, he perceiving being as being. He conceived about a being, but now you have to be protect by thinking about a being or a visual, and you need to protect your eye by by conceiving uh, a sub visuals. That means, oh, her lips like roses, her hair very beautiful, his shoulders are very nice, he has a nice attitude. Like that way, the sub uh, thinking, sub conceiving also you need to abandon. These all things, dear listeners, focused on right vision. That's why Lord Buddha has emphasized the starting point of this cessation of the leading to cessation of suffering is right vision, nothing else. If you if you practice the sila, if you practice the virtue or meditation without right vision, it will not lead you to an enlightened. So if you need to be liberated, if you need to be enlightened, if you need to attain the nibbana, if you need to attain the string of all preparations of the mind, firstly you need to attain the right vision. How you can attain the right vision? You need to attain the right vision by yoniso manasikara, by proper thinking, by appropriate attention. The attention what focused on the originating place. That means cognition. You need to empower your effort and the mindfulness. So once you practice like this, you will not take any conceiving by visuals, and you will not conceiving any sub conceiving by visuals. Then in this way you can restrain your eye faculty. And the ear also same. You will not restrain, you will not conceive a sound as a thing, and a sub conceiving also. The nose and the smells and sub conceivings, and the tongue and the sub conceivings, and the body and the sub conceivings. Once you if you if someone touches you, then that is then you think, oh, he's tangible or her tangible, and that is called normal conceiving, and some clothes or some flower touch to your body. In this time, you may feel, oh, this tangible also same as her touching or his touching. That we call the subconceivings. He will not restrain his mind like this way also. And the thoughts also same. He abandon the thoughts, abandon the thinking like that. Always try to be um, detached from those thinking. So in this way, in this manner, you should practice. I restrain, uh, I abandon by restraining. How? Reflecting appropriately, he dwells restrained with the restraint of the eye faculty, restraint of the ear faculty, restraint of the nose faculty, restraint of the tongue faculty, restraint of the body faculty, and reflecting appropriately, he dwells restrained with the restraint of the intellect faculty. The fermentations, vexation, or fever that would arise if he were to dwell unrestrained with the restraint of the intellect faculty does not arise for him when he dwells restrained with the restraint of the intellect faculty. These are called the fermentations to be abandoned by restraining. So the second way is finished. And the third way. And the way are the fermentations to be abandoned by using. There is the case where a monk, reflecting appropriately, uses the robe simply to, to counteract cold, to counteract heat, to counteract the touch of flies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, and reptiles, simply for the purpose of covering the parts of the body that cause shame. You also have to discipline in this manner. I use these clothes just for covering my shame places, cover my body parts, what cause to shame, and to be protected by cold, heat, and the touches of flies, mosquitoes, and reptiles, and sun and wind. For that manner, I use these clothes, not for the proud, not for uh, not for get the attention of others. In this way, uh, you should use these things with a clear understanding. And reflecting appropriately, he uses alms food, not playfully, not for intoxicant, not for putting on bulk, not for beautification, but simply for the survival and continuance of this body, for ending its afflictions, for the support of the holy life, thinking, thus will I destroy all feelings of hunger and not create new feelings from overeating. I will maintain myself, be harmless, and live in comfort. For that, you need to take the meals. Thus will I destroy all feelings of the hunger and not create new feelings from overeating. I will maintain myself, be blameless, blameless and live in comfort. I just eat for that purpose. In this way, you should practice. each and every time you dress something, you can uh, think, you can discipline like this. Each and every time you eat something, you can discipline like this. And reflecting appropriately, he uses loggings simply to counteract cold, to counteract heat, to counteract the touches of flies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, and reptiles, simply for the protection from the in, inclement inclemences of weather and for the enjoyment of seclusion. So when you use the home or your room, once you enter the home and go out from the home, always you need to pay your attention. I just use this house just for protection from the heat, the cold, from the flies, mosquitoes, sun and wind, and reptiles, and not for the enjoyment, not for the proud. I just use this home just for this. Because in these leaves, the fermentations will arise in your mind by unprotect those things, unprotect the clothing, unprotect the eating, unprotect the loggings. The such another aspects, the fermentations will increase in your mind. So those fermentations cannot cease by meditation. So that's why you need to practice in your day-to-day life. In that's why Lord Buddha has explained in Satipatthana Sutta, the person who practiced this Satipatthana 100% according to what I teached, what I preached, it will enough 7 days for attain the arahantship or the non-returnership. 7 days enough, and the longest time, the 7 years are enough for attain this. But you need to practice this according to 100%ly what I have preached, not our agendas, not to the not the later disciples and agendas. 100% according to Sutta. So in this way, uh, why Lord Buddha has given 7 days? Why isn't he? Why wasn't he give 1 day or 1 hour? Why? Because to abandon these fermentations at least need 7 days practice. So that's why we need to practice. We need to abandon by restraining. We need to abandon by um, using with the inciting. That's why we need that. That's why Lord Buddha has given 7 days for the smallest time. And he reflecting appropriately, he uses medicinal requirements that are used for curing the sick, simply to counteract any pains of illness that have arisen, and for maximum freedom for disease, the fermentations, vexation, or fever that would arise if he were not to use these things in this way do not arise for him when he uses them in this way. These are called the fermentations to be abandoned by using. So the fourth one is, and what are the fermentations to be abandoned by tolerating? There is the case where a monk, reflecting appropriate, endures, he tolerates cold, heat, hunger, and thirst, the touch of flies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, and reptiles, ill spoken, ill-spoken, unwelcome words, and bodily feeling that when they arise are painful, racking, sharp, piercing, disagreeable, displeasing, and menacing to life, the fermentations, vexation, or favor that would arise if he were not to tolerate these things do not arise for him when he tolerates them. These are called the fermentations to be abandoned by tolerating. Because, dear ones, we need to the, the the fermentations what needs to abandon by tolerating. We cannot abandon them by um, by meditation. We should abandon them by tolerating. We need to tolerate the wind. We need to tolerate the harsh words. We need to tolerate the painful sicknesses, the pains of the body. If someone uh, cut out into pieces, we need to tolerate, because unless we have not nothing to do. If we become angry when someone blame us, when we feel some heat or cold, when some mosquitoes or someone uh, something uh, unpleasant to us, if we got anger, that is useless. No, nothing, no use. Just some unpleasant sensation, unpleasant feelings arising in our mind. That's all. So that's why we need to tolerate them. Unless just will remain the restlessness and fatigue in our mind. So that's why we need to tolerate them. So you need to put in your mind, I will tolerate those things. I must tolerate even someone cut me into the pieces. Because if I get angry, there is no use. I can't do anything except tolerating. If I not tolerate, the angry will increase and the bad karma will increase. So I need to tolerate them. You need to practice in this way. And the other thing is, the fifth way is, and what are the fermentations to be abandoned by avoiding? There is the case where a monk or a person who disciplined in this Dhamma, reflecting appropriately, avoids a wild elephant, avoid a wild horse, avoid a wild bull, avoid a wild dog, a snake, a stump, a, a bramble patch, a chasm, a cliff, a cesspool, an open sewer. Reflecting appropriately, he avoids sitting in the sorts of unsuitable seats, wandering to the sorts of unsuitable hab- habitats, and associating with the sorts of bad friends that would make his knowledgeable friends in the holy life suspect him of evil conduct. The fermentations, vexation of vexation or fever that would arise if he were not avoid these things to be not arise for him when he avoids them. These are called the fermentations to be abandoned by avoiding. And the other things, these things we need to avoid by we need to avoid by understanding. We need to avoid by we need to avoid by uh, um, uh, understanding how. Unless if there are some mosquitoes troubling to you, if some place unsuitable for you, If some monastery or a meditating place, the people are always jaggering, always some sounds are there, is really not suitable for the meditation, not suitable for the calmness of your mind. You just need to avoid them. You need to avoid. If you not avoid them, there is nothing to do. So this type of fermentations you cannot avoid by meditation. So that's why you need to avoid by, or you need to abandon by avoiding the wild animals, the unsuitable places, the unsuitable people. We need to avoid. So, dear ones, the next one is, and what are the fermentations to be abandoned by destroying? There is a case where a monk, reflecting appropriately, does not tolerate an arisen thought of sensuality. He abandons it, dispels it, and wipes it out of existence. And, and reflecting appropriately, he does not tolerate an arisen thought of ill will, that hatred means anger. He does not tolerate an arisen thought of anger. He abandons it, he dispels it, and wipes it out of existence. He will not take it again. And reflecting appropriately, he does not tolerate an arisen thought of cruelty, and he abandons it, he dispels it, he wipes it out of existence. And reflecting appropriately, he does not tolerate arisen evil, unskillful mental qualities, bad mental qualities. He abandons them, dispels them, and wipes them out of existence. And he will not give a chance to arise them again. Lord Buddha has preached, Upannanam kama vitakkanam nadivaseti vajahati vinodeti bhanti karoti anubhavam kameti. He will not tolerate the thoughts of sensuality. He will not tolerate the thoughts of evil, ill will. He will not tolerate the thoughts of cruelty. He will not tolerate all bad, unskillful thoughts, mental formations, mental qualities. He will not tolerate them. This thing you need to do in your daily life. Once those mental qualities arise in your mind, in that moment, you need to do this. You need to just not tolerate them. You need to destroy them. You need to abandon them. You need to dispel them, and you need to wipe it out of existence. You will not give the chance to arise it again. In this way, you need to practice. If you not practice this way, the attaining of Nibbana will be a dream to you. Keep it in your mind. Unless you practice this way in your day to day life, the attaining of Nibbana will be a dream to you. Not will happen. If you need to attain the enlightenment, you need to practice those in your day to day life. Once the thought of sensuality arises in your mind, in this moment, in that moment, you need to you will not tolerate it. You will not. Uh, you need to destroy it. You need to abandon it. You need to dispel it, and you need to wipe it out of existence. And you will not give a chance to come it again. I'll tell you an example. Somebody comes to your home. Your door is open. You tell him, or you do not tolerate his coming. Oh, please go, please go. You tell like that. It's like It's like the, not tolerating. And again he comes. Then you abandon him. You say him to go out and close your door, and he again uh, come to come to your home and knock to the door. Then you dispel. Then you uh, ask him to go, uh, and you again lock the door. Again, he's coming and knock the door, and um, you wipes he out of existence. How you take him by hand and uh, put in the road and lock your gate, and you will not give a chance to come come again to your home. In this way, you need to practice these things. You need to destroy the thoughts of sensual pleasure. You need to destroy the thoughts of the cruelty. You need to destroy the thoughts of hatred or anger. You need to destroy the thoughts of all kind of bad and unskillful mental qualities. The the influence, the vexation, the favor that would arise if he were not to dispel these things do not arise for him when he dispels them. These are called the fermentations to be abandoned by dispelling. So, dear ones, this is the way to abandon by dispelling, abandon by destroying. The last one. The last one is, and what are the fermentations to be abandoned by developing? Developing by means meditating. There is the case where a monk, reflecting appropriately, develops mindfulness as a factor of awakening the dependent on seclusion, dispensation, the dispassion, cessation, resulting in letting go. That means Lord Buddha explains in each and every meditations, the metta meditation and the skeleton meditation and the contemplating of the death and all every kind of meditations. You need to develop these meditations. Um, Awakening depend on seclusion. That means viveka nisitam, viraga nisitam, nirodha nisitam, vosagga parinami. You need to practice this meditation to give a seclusion to your mind and give a dispassion to your mind, to give the cessation of the cessation of the concept of existing to your mind, to resulting in letting go to your mind. In this way, you have to practice, and always you have to be in the right mindfulness, the sati sampojjhanga. You whatever meditation you do, you need to do it with the right mindfulness. Right mindfulness right mindfulness always within the right vision. The normal mindfulness is not the right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is what included with the right vision. Always you're free from try to be free from the ignorance. Although you can feel that this is the part what we have talked in the Mulapariyaya Sutta, who is the instructed person, who the Seka person, how the Seka person discipline in their way. So you need to understand, you need to work hard in this manner. So, dear ones, this is the way uh, you need to always you have to develop your right mindfulness. Again and again, your mindfulness will go pass away, but again and again you need to take it. Again and again you feel the visual as just a visual, the scene just a scene, heard just a such heard, the cognized just a cognized, sensed as sensed, just a sensed. You need to develop your mindfulness to give a seclusion to your mind, to give a dispassion to your mind, to give the cessation of the existence to your mind, and resulting in letting go the all mental formations, all mental preparations. For that purpose, you need to develop your mindfulness. And for this purpose, you need to develop the analysis of the qualities. Analysis of the Dhamma mean the cognition as cognition. This analyzation mean uh, inciting the reality. The cognition as cognition. The heard as heard. You need to insight this. You need to understand this very well. You have to develop this quality, this Dhamma Vijaya, this insighting, uh, for give a seclusion to your mind, to give a dispassion to your mind, to give the cessation of existence to your mind, to resulting in letting go the all mental preparations to your mind. Sati Dhamma Vijaya Virya. Then you have to practice the persistence. Persistence mean Sati Dhamma Vijaya Virya. Virya mean the effort, right effort. You practice the right effort to give the seclusion, the dispassion, to the cessation of existence, and letting go all the preparations of the mind. You awaken the right effort. You awaken the right persistence. And Sati Dhamma Vijaya Virya Piti. Piti means Sati Dhamma Vijaya Virya Piti. Uh, what are the seven Bojjhangas? Sati Dhamma Vijaya Virya um, Piti Samadhi Upekka. One thing is left.
Pasati.
Apasadhi. Yes. Thank you. Then the awaken Sati Dhamma Vijaya Virya Piti Pasadhi Samadhi and Upekka. Then the third one, the fourth one is the Piti. He practiced the right joy, or the we can tell it the rapture, or the joy of the mind, to give it's always included the right vision, huh? Always keep it in your mind. Give the rapture, the joy for the mind, to the seclusion, to the dispassion, to the cessation of the concept of existing, to letting go the all preparations in the mind. And you to practice the passaddhi. Passaddhi means serenity of the body and mind. To uh, to be to a to give to give a seclusion to your mind, to give awakening, to give the dispassion, to give the cessation of existing, to letting go the all preparations of the mind. And you need to practice the concentration. The concentration is a factor of awakening. The concentration to give the seclusion, dispassion, cessation, and letting go. And finally, equanimity, the upekka, equanimity as a factor of awakening, dependent on seclusion, dispassion, cessation, resulting in letting go. How the equanimity you need to practice to always you in the right vision, and always you in the equanimity, because just heard as heard, seen as heard, seen, cognized as cognized. Always give the seclusion to your mind. Always give um, this passion to your mind. Always give the cessation of existence to your mind. Always give the letting go of all mental preparations to your mind. You need to practice this for this manner. The fermentations. vexations or fever that would be arise if he were not to develop these qualities do not arise for him when he develops them. These are called the fermentations to be abandoned by developing, abandoned by meditating. This abandoned by developing we have to do after we become the we can do this after we become a stream enterer in the Sakadagami to Arhat, the Sekapatipada. Because unless these all things need the right vision. Right mindfulness requires the right vision. Because first of all, we have to gain the right vision by right, by appropriate attention, by Dhamma listening, by associate with noble friends. When amongst fermentations that should be abandoned by seeing have been abandoned by seeing. His fermentations that should be abandoned by restraining have been abandoned by restraining. His fermentations that should be abandoned by using have been abandoned by using. His fermentations that should be abandoned by tolerating have been abandoned by tolerating. His fermentations that should be abandoned by avoiding have been abandoned by avoiding. His fermentations that should be abandoned by dispelling have been abandoned by dispelling. His fermentations that should be abandoned by developing have been abandoned by developing. Then he is called a monk who dwells restrained with the restraint of all the fermentations he has served craving, thrown off the fetters, and through the right penetration of conceit has made an end of suffering and stress. That is what the Blessed One said. Gratified, the monks delighted in the Blessed One's words. That is how the sutta finished. He need to abandon the things by seeing and by restraining and and by um, and by the seeing, restraining, then abandoned by using. Abandoned by using mean the things what we use, the clothes, meals, lodgings, and medicines, and abandoned by uh, tolerating, and abandoned by avoiding, and especially abandoned by destroying, mean dispelling, and finally abandoned by developing or meditating. So this is the way we have to abandon the all types of fermentations what arising in our mind. Finally, we can attain the arahantship in this manner. So once your concentration, once your equanimity be stable with the right vision, your hatred, lust, desires will totally remainlessly will cease. And the mana also cease. Mana means you're thinking about I. Concept of I also will cease. And finally, you'll become an arahant who has seen just as seen, heard just as heard, sensed just as sensed, cognized just as cognized to him. So I wish you all to may you feel the fearfulness of the samsara and do more effort to attain the supreme bliss of nibbana in this very life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Now we can transfer the merits to the gods and the beings who needs merits in the Aviti hell to Akanita Brahma world. We can transfer the happiness, the joy, the freshness what we gain with the merits. Now we have to pass them to all of the people, how all of the beings. Now you think, no, now I transfer this Dhamma listening joy to the people, the beings who need this merit. Now you can tell with me, You can chant
Uh,
with me. Ettavata cha ammehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata cha ammehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata cha ammehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satthanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu sambuddha sasanam. Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu sambuddha desanam. Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu sambuddha savakang chirang rakhantu mang paranti. Now we can transfer the merits to our late people who died in the past. If they need, we can transfer the merits now. Idam me jnatinang hotu sukita hontu jnatayo. Idam me jnatinang hotu sukita hontu jnatayo. Idam mo jnatinang hotu sukita hontu jnatayo. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana patiya. That means from this merit I will not associate uh, with the worldly ordinary people. I'll associate with the noble people until I attain the nibbana. That is the wishing. Idamme punya kammang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabbha dukkha pamucchatu. This merit become a course to me to abandon the all fermentations of the mind. That is the final wishing. So if someone need can worship, bless to I will bless to you.
uh,
Sabbheti. Oh, yes, you can.
no, Bhante, is it okay to ask the question if somebody have?
Okay.
Yes.
Ask questions.
Okay, first, Bhante can transfer the merit. That is important.
Finish the transferring. That
Oh,
means
okay.
uh, you had just placing
Yeah.
left.
कुणाचे प्रश्न आहेत का? Okay, Bhante, I ask. Bhante, fermentation means grooming, right? Hello.
Yes.
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 So, like that old wine, the oldest wine, the strongest and the expensive is like that, right?
Yes.
So this asavas is like a kamasava, bhavasava, ditthasava, and
Avijjas.
avijjasava, right? So, it is a interconnected like first comes avijjasava and then kamasava, bhavasava, kamasava, ditthas, sorry, avijjasava, ditthasava, kamasava, and bhavasava.
Is all asavas comes from the ignorance, come from the avijjas.
Yes.
Because of that avijjas.
Okay.
And once
So,
we think,
mm,
look about the fermentations as the forcing, some forcing in our mind. It force us to uh, think like that. From
yeah,
this category, we can think we can divide the desires to sensual pleasures
yeah.
are fermenting. and the concept of existing, that means, or there's a real world existing and I am living in this world. In this idea also always uh, fermentating in our mind, like old wine, it's fermentating. And the ignorance uh, mean take this duality, because without understand this movement as a this movement, cognition as a cognition, seen as a
mm,
scene, we have a force from these fermentations to the ignorance. So
okay.
mainly those are the fermentations. Yes.
So, Bhante, fermentation means like that we see in Sri Lanka that tea they took took the tea leaves to the fermentize, right? Like little by different stages. So in this asavas, if we take a kama asava, is there any intermediate stages in that? Like first comes I, and then comes becoming, like that. And what is the difference between asava and becoming? Means yeah, asava and bhava.
That means I usually use the word called existence rather than becoming, because I feel the Baba, I feel the Baba has that two ideas, the
Ah,
idea of becoming and the existence. Both are has the in the word, but I prefer Lord Buddha. Maybe mostly think maybe must be the existence, because now once we think about um, karma asava mean, uh, once you once you look at for someone,
mm,
you don't feel ugly with the force of the mind,
yes, yes,
but the beauty, but the lust, but the desire will
yes,
feel without any force, because
yes,
already have a force or
yes,
fermentating to the
yes,
beauty, to the lust, to the
yes,
desire.
yes.
So that's
But
why the karma is a asava.
but that is same thing work in in bhava also, Bante.
Of
But
course,
it is connected with the future. Means
it's
bhava
been,
means the futuristic existence. But in asava, in
that means,
fermentation. Mhm,
yes, that means existence. They are calling that they are bubble fermentation. Mean there is the idea of existing. There is a real world, and I am existing according to Karma Baba, calm
mm,
existence. He is
mm.
thinking there's a world, and I am existing in the Rupa Baba,
Hello.
the form existences. There's a for the first, second, and fourth jhana realms. They
Yes,
think, oh, there's a Brahma world, and
yes.
there's a object to live, and the person I'm living in this world. There's a concept of existing
So
Rupa Baba also. Rupa
so
Baba also, they also have that concept of existing. There's a Rupa world, there's a formless world, and I am living
yes,
in. So this also have force. If I Yes,
yeah, yeah.
if I
So
tell you this
Bante,
moment just a
uh,
cognition, you will not
yeah,
you know don't like to accept that. Always your mind
yes,
have a force to think as oh real world I am existing.
yes,
Yes,
yes. So,
distance also a fermentation.
uh, but I need to know that, like what we using a fermentation for the asava, right? So in fermentation there is a 3, 4, 5 steps. In asava, is there is something some steps where the mind is engaged or becoming, or what happened in fermentation actually? When we use the fermentation of the wine, they store it and they mature it, and the fermentation of the
Uh,
tea leaf.
ferment, uh, fermentation mean like a forcing, like a stream. And there's another idea, another explanation to the asava, that is
Mm,
a stream and fermentation. Stream
mm,
mean some water streams, they are constantly flowing down, flowing to the sea, the
yeah,
rivers, flowing to the sea. Always there's and the asava mean a force forced
Yeah.
to do that, forced to the sensual pleasures, forced to the concept of existing, forced to the ignorance. That's what we call the asava in that manner.
So
We should not take it by the English word. We should
okay.
take the idea by the Pali word. Pali word
Okay.
has the two meanings by asava, stream and fermentating. Fermentating mean it's developing in our mind. Or karma increasing. The existence idea of existence increasing, and
Okay.
the idea of ignorance increasing. And another way, we have a force to flow down, go constantly with the karma, go constantly with the concept of existence, go constantly with the ignorance.
So okay.
That is
Okay.
the two meaning. We have to get the meaning by the Pali word, the asava.
So
There's two interpreted.
you use the asava have the stream. So stream means
Yes.
like a oga, right, Pante?
Oga, right.
So
That is the word,
so
oga.
asava and that kama oga, bhava oga, dittha oga, and avijja oga. Is it
Uh,
interlink
yes,
or same?
yes, it's same.
It's same. But in oga there is no fermentation then.
Of course, and it just need to give that idea from those words.
Okay.
Oga
Okay.
mean our mind always there's a big power
Flooded.
to go with the karma, go with the existence, go with the
Yes.
ignorance.
Yes.
In the asava aspect, there is a fermentating in our mind. It's developing, it's increasing. The
Yes.
sensual pleasures increasing.
Yes.
The concept of existing increasing,
Yes.
and the ignorance increasing. Just need to give that idea. We use these words just for give this idea.
Right. Right. So
Yeah, are you
Bhante,
got it?
yes, I got it. Bhante, when Sabbasava Sutta is started, there is a one. They started with this Sabbasava uh, Dhammang
Sangvara pariyaya.
Desim
Sangvara pariyaya. Dhamma. Uh,
Dhammang Desimi, na.
uh, Sabbhavasa Sangvara. That means how to be disciplined by the asavas. Yes.
So Sangvara and there's a eight things, Bhante.
Seven.
Stopping seven. Okay. So these seven things activated only in mindfulness.
Of course. Precisely.
Okay.
In the right vision, with
Okay.
mindfulness, with the right vision.
Okay. So when we say Bhante that I because of I we because of I want to enjoy the sensual pleasure. So in that moment, how we can understand the asava and like there is only thought, but when we see some object, that time lust and our ego already activated. Okay, first they
Yeah.
activated the ego, and then the lust come to attach it. So that in that moment, how we can understand that how we can bring the dhamma to stop the this kama yoga, because the
Okay.
flood is because the flood from the past life is much because we say that
Yes.
this is the fermentation like a wine, because the
Yes.
most oldest the wine that diluted the people very easily. But
Mm.
this asava are like not have a beginning or end.
Yeah.
This asava is with us like until the five khanda with us. This asava is already created by our means, our panchaskanda. So
Yeah.
how we can stop this then?
Of
It
course.
is means it we need a like kriya chitta, or we need a normal anagami or a sotapanna level.
No, we need to practice the Noble Eightfold Path.
Mm,
The main first thing is you need to uh, see the noble ones and listen their Dhamma, and you need to
yes,
discipline their Dhamma. Once
yes,
you listen their Dhamma and discipline their Dhamma,
yes,
you will hear the appropriate attention and inappropriate attention.
yes,
That's what now explained in the Sabbasava Sutta.
yes,
Then
yes,
he understands the attention to the originating place and the normal worldly people's attention to the
yes,
external things, the
yes,
inappropriate attention and the appropriate attention. So after that,
Oh,
now he will gain the right vision.
mm,
He knows to abandon by seeing.
yes,
About I am once you look at something, once you
yes,
see some beautiful girl, you may
mm,
feel no, by abandoned by seeing, you will
yes,
abandon the person who seeing.
yes, yes,
So this in this way, firstly, you will understand. Oh, this is just a cognition.
yes,
There is no person who seen this.
yes,
By understanding this, by the right
yes,
vision, by the abandoned by seeing. Then after that, in from by the after without with this seeing, with this right vision, now he can develop. Now he can go to the developing right mindful.
mm,
Now he can
yes,
practice the right mindfulness
yes,
by with the meditation object, to
yes,
keep his mind in the mindfulness, to give the seclusion to the mind, to give the dispassion to the mind, to give the cessation of the existence to the mind, to give the letting go to all mind preparations.
okay. But Bante, I have one more question that Lokiya Chitta cannot see this thing easily. Even
Of
they
course,
have the strong mindfulness.
of course, he must need to be a sort of stream mentor, at least
Yes,
the person who discipline in the stream
yes,
entry path.
yes, yes. Because we say that even the 8 jhana person or 4 jhana person, they crave for the Rupa Raga and Arupa Raga. So in that Rupa Raga and Arupa Raga, while they craving, there are also asavas. Is that true, Bante?
No, those are not asava. Those are not kama asava. Those are avijasa.
That is avijja asava.
That is
Okay.
avijasa.
But that is asava.
Oh, it's also asava.
Yeah, that is asava. So even we see that, but that the person with the 4 jhana with the characteristics of the equanimity and the concentration, even though they are swept by the ogas. So that why I asking that when we, or if we want to see only with the mindfulness, is it that possible?
Mindfulness should with the right vision.
Yes. Yoni
Right.
Somanastikana.
Yes. Unless that mindfulness, no use.
But Bante, Lord Buddha say that if you want to see the means Lord Buddha, sorry, Dasana Pahataba. I think in this yes,
Abandoned by seeing.
thing.
Abandoned
So
by seeing.
no, the destroying na Bante.
It's not dasana pahataba. Pahanam pahataba. Pahanam mean abandoned by destroying. Yes.
But when you see, you destroy. That is the Dasana Pahataba. Means
Sorry.
when you Dasana Pahataba means when you
Abandoned.
see,
Uh,
that time you destroy.
dasana pahataba.
Yeah.
No, no, no. There is one is from abandoned by seeing and abandoned by
Ah,
restraining. That means
ah.
mindfulness in the eye, ear, nose, and tongue. Those things. And another thing is
Even
abandoned by using. Another
yeah,
thing is abandoned by avoiding. Another thing
yeah,
is abandoned by destroying.
yeah.
Abandoned by destroying mean it is for the four types of thoughts. We need
Because
to destroy the
uh,
karma thing.
uh,
Once it appear, we need to destroy it with the right vision. The right vision must important to destroy that. Unless he cannot destroy it, because our mind always, this is not, no, this is not a joke.
yeah,
It has so much power with the fermentating and the and
yes,
the flowing. So it must need the right mindfulness, so, right vision. With the right vision, he can tolerate, he will not tolerate that sensual pleasure, and he
yeah,
destroy it, and he dispel it, and without he will not gain it again. He can
yes,
practice like that.
yes, yes. Thank you, Bante. Thank you very much. Can I ask to other people if they have questions?
Okay.
Or you late, Bante, I think.
No, it's okay.
ओके. कुणाला
This
विचारायचंय का?
sermon is very long. Feels
Yes.
the taste of blood in the tongue, in the throat.
Yes, yes. कुणाला विचारायचंय
Someone
का?
have,
नाही तर आपण close करूया. No, Bante, no one have.
okay.
Bante, we will try to translate this Dhamma talk in Marathi or Hindi, so everybody can understand easily. Then,
Sadhu,
with your
sadhu.
permission, Bante.
Yes, my permission with you.
Yes, Bante. Thank you. And Bante, thank you very much that you coming and giving us the directly Sutta teachings. It's very precious that everybody is learning Suttas directly, because we are not able as a lay person to teach the Suttas. We got you. That is very precious thing for us.
Sadhu, sadhu. My
Okay,
pleasure.
Bante. Yes. Uh, I'm going to stop the recording, Bante, first.
Okay.